Hello, my loves. I'm going to do something I haven't done in quite some time. We're going to dive into some deeper divine masculine collective messages here. The energy that is coming through is that the divine masculine collective, or a portion of the collective, is reaching this precipice point where it feels like they have to grow. Like there's just this energy of like there's no more holding back. It's just not even a possibility to stay in the same space. Okay. Their soul is really pushing the envelope to grow. I also sense that the divine feminine collective's growth and her focus on herself is really part of allowing the space for the masculine collective to move to their next levels of growth as we're always moving in tandem. So if you're a feminine, you may also be feeling that energy where you're really being called into your next steps of growth. And some of the energies that have been coming through are really sort of this energy of moving into a much bigger container, a much bigger space. And we're being called to step into the next levels of our abilities, our services, or to open more space for more to land and come into our life in the physical world. So the reason this is coming through quite significantly is that back like in the spring, I was actually guided to start a Patreon because the masculine collective was coming through and they were coming through that they wanted to grow and they wanted to open up, but they still needed to feel safe. It still felt very vulnerable. And the cool part about why this message is awesome is that I'm feeling their growth to the point where I was like, I want to take this more public on YouTube. Are you ready? And like, here we are. Okay. So it feels like on a lot of different levels, this message is coming through. And for the part of the divine masculine collective that I work with, or that comes through my messages, is really ready to step forward and come out a lot more. So this feels like, as I'm saying this, like this sort of video here on YouTube is an energetic representation of them starting to come forward in more verbal, public ways, where if everything that they've been going through has been much more quiet and internal, maybe people didn't even know that they were going through these changes or shifts, but now they're reaching a point within that internal growth that there's going to be much more external validation around those internal growths. So as I'm saying that, I'm sort of seeing that we're going to start to notice masculines in our lives, in our connections, in the world, really opening up and making shifts in new and bigger ways is what's coming through. Okay. This is interesting because my ears are also majorly popping, which is funny because they used to do that a lot when I first started the channel, whenever the masculines wanted to come through, but then it sort of settled down. So this is really like hitting home for me, even as I'm sitting here with you, how big of a shift this is. And before I go to the next steps, I just want to tell you on the Patreon, it came through recently from the masculines that there's this point in the system where we are ready to unravel old oaths, vows, and even promises. And how it came through was actually where we made promises to one another or oaths to one another, even that were intended from a kind and honorable place, are actually holding us in the old frequencies. And I could really see where many of the masculines were actually holding back out of fear for harming or hurting the feminines. So that came through yesterday. And then this morning, I recorded a guided meditative session for, it's a 37-minute session to actually support the unraveling or dissolving of the vows, the promises, and allowing that restoration into our natural nature. I posted that on Patreon for the Harmonious Heart Expanding group, but I also have it available over on my website for any of you that are interested in that. I'll put all that information in the pinned comment. but it felt significant because as that energy opened, it really moved into a planetary energy. So, yes, it was about the vows that we've made to one another, but it swiftly moved into the energy and essence of the vows that we made to the planet, or even the vows or the energies of the planet ascending and evolving into its rightful place within the cosmos, the universe, the multiverse. So, it went into quite a big energetic portion, but it makes perfect sense because as the earth restores to her rightful place, humanity automatically will be aligning with their rightful place. And so the work that we have been doing as a collective is really starting to build momentum. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been noticing that things have been moving very, very quickly. Let me know in the comments what you have been noticing. Like, I'm really noticing that big shifts are happening a lot faster than they were over the past few years. So we're really building momentum into the new. And as always, it's perfectly timed for where the collective is. So now I will dive into some messages from the masculines for the masculines. And for any of you here with me working on your inner masculine or supporting masculines in your life. Let's see what we got. Okay. Stars in the sky, limitless possibilities. I feel like I want to go into some other cards as well. So I'm really feeling, most importantly, that the masculines are opening up to a new perspective. I want to automatically say, like, they're really starting to tap into the higher energies, but this feels to me different than maybe how we here have been tapping in. My sense of it is that it's actually really coming online from like the inside out, where many of us have sort of like tapped in externally, connecting to source, grounding into the earth. And I talk about it here all the time. But what I'm sensing in the masculine collective that's on the other side or the receiving side of your partnership is actually all of what you've been doing is sort of activating that internally on their end. And that's why the transformation happens from within. It's sort of like whatever you're working on, all of a sudden they get the results from the inside out. So it's like you're both working from both directions to get back to the heart space. And it feels like what is happening is it's being activated from within. And there's sort of this sense that they're just remembering. They just remember. Like all of a sudden, I think you guys have probably all experienced that at one point where you kind of understood a concept or you had an awareness of it. And then all of a sudden, one day, it hits you so much deeper and your understanding of it expands significantly. And you're like, oh my gosh, like you're actually embodying the understanding or the understanding of the concept. And it becomes more potent in your existence and in your experience. This feels like this is what is happening for the masculines. Okay. And I actually had this come through in a meditation the other day where it felt like this understanding was happening where it was like, I understand if I hurt myself, I hurt you. And if I hurt you, I hurt myself. It's sort of like, and what I mean by that, and it's like, if I love myself, I love you. And if I love you, I love myself. It's that energy of the oneness that is being opened and activated in new ways. I believe within all of us, but from the masculine's perspective, it's sort of blooming and blossoming from the core of the heart inside first. And wow, here we go. So as I'm saying that, this Nine of Cups really stood out to me. It's sort of like it's been building on the inside, and now it's reaching that precipice where it has to come out. It's like, and the day came when the risk it took to remain tight and closed in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom. Like the masculines are reaching that point in their internal growth that they just can't hold back anymore. It's going to burst forth, it's going to burst out. And what I'm sensing is that there's been a little bit like they're almost a little bit fearful of this expansion because one, they haven't even fully learned how to wield all of their own power yet, but this is where they will learn. But also, there's some of the hesitation around, well, last time all of this energy opened, things got chaotic or uncomfortable, and I messed things up, so to speak. And so there's some of those fears surfacing, but it is that help them that or kind of put them in that energy of wanting to close off and run and wall in the past. But now that internal growth has amplified so significantly that even though some of those fears or anxieties may be present, the growth is so much bigger than those fears and anxieties that the universe, their higher self, their soul is pushing them to this next level. And so there's sort of that dualistic dichotomy that's happening where they're trying to stay small and safe, but they've already grown so much, it's not even possible. And so there's both energies happening at the same time. But it's really gorgeous because the growth and the internal knowing and the internal remembering is activating. So it's sort of like pushing the fears forward, but up and out of the way. It's the energy of like, I know you guys have experienced this before, probably most of you, where you've wanted to do something really bad. It makes you like excited when you think about doing it, but then also you want to do it so much and you want it to be a part of your life so much that there's that fear of like, well, if I do it and it doesn't work, then what? Right? But the waiting builds so intensely that you finally reach a point where you can't stand it anymore and you have to give it a try. And if you fall on your face and you fail, so be it. At least you finally took that leap. Actually, that happened to me to get me here with you, right? So there was one point I was told you I was scared to even share a blog, but the push from my internal heart and from the universe got so intense that I just started sharing and I had to like go for it. Um, we have to grow to go, right? And so this feels like it's coming through quite significantly. And with the Seven of Wands coming right after, what I'm sensing with this is actually multi-layered. One, it's like this explosion of energies and essences and growth out into the physical world. And I do feel for a little bit that might feel a little bit chaotic to the masculines, but I also feel like it's going to feel very relieving. And the part that they may not realize yet and why it feels different is that their feminines have learned how to stabilize. Their feminines aren't in the chaotic energy anymore. Many of the feminine collective has stabilized. We've made it through our explosion. We learned how to stabilize ourselves and go through the expansion and get into our own lane. Okay. So they're feeling the support of that, which is going to allow them to go through these next levels of growth. But then it's immediately hitting me. As the masculine grows, it starts to push on the feminine's bubble, the feminine's comfort zone. Even though she's expanded significantly, this growth from the masculine is like, knock, knock, knock. You're ready to grow too, Miss Feminine. All right. And so this, I'm going to pull on this because I really feel it. And I know there's a lot of feminines here. And I know that you guys can relate to this because I've been talking to some of you recently. And we're sort of feeling this is coming through for the feminines as this energy of feeling still stable, but yeah, almost like you're free falling. I had this feeling last night myself. It was so funny because I was like, I feel stable, but I can feel that the energy is expanding so significantly. I don't know where I'm landing yet. but I'm totally good with it. I know I'm okay. I've been through this rodeo enough times to know how it goes. And so that's some of what you guys might be feeling who have been on this journey or this part of it for quite some time. But it's important to acknowledge because the masculines are acknowledging that your need for growth is calling them to their next levels, and their need for growth is calling you to your next levels. And wow. Okay. What do we got with this? What else do we got right here? So I was going to say, what do the divine masculines want to share with the divine feminines? It's like divine feminine's embodiment of her essence is, I can feel it and sense it in the energies. As she's coming more into alignment with her true essence, the more internal union, the more embodied, it naturally calls this essence of the masculine home. Because as your essences are connected and shared, it brings it into alignment. So, as the feminines have been so focused on herself, handling her business, coming into her own alignment, calling herself home is calling the masculine home to himself, which ultimately leads to those sacred union, reunion energies, right? So, I love this because the masculines are pretty much giving that nod to the feminines to say, yeah, what you're doing, I feel it. It's working. It's pulling me into my body. It's pulling me into my heart. Keep going. Wow. Okay. Is there anything else that wants to come through? Okay. Wow. All right. This is a, I was going to say this was a prominent energy with the masculines, often with this Four of Swords, sort of that not sure what to do energy. Always like the higher self was kind of off in the background. The intuition was trying to talk to them, but there was all this clutter. And then it moves to the Four of Swords. But this is the healing card. This is really where these worries and these stresses are actually in process of healing. I feel like there's more to this because interestingly that this card is sort of that healing and this card comes after it. So I feel like there's also in reversing, like there's been this healing and now more is opening up. So where is this energy headed for the masculines? With the swords energy of sort of wading through those discomforts, those vows, those oaths, those promises, those burdens, like they're being lifted. So where is this leading? Again, more confirmation of opening to those higher essences. I was going to say it's leading to the feminine and that because that was what came to my mind. And then this card came. So actually, what I'll ask is what is happening between the masculine and feminines as these next steps unfold between the collectives, between the counterparts. Oh, wow. Look at that. We said the Queen of Cups, and we got the King of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles. So definitely emotional openness, intuitive openness, coming into those like loving energies and into like the physically manifested connection. And when I say that, it's like whatever ways your soul is meant to work together. It may look a certain way, but it also might be more than what you've even ever thought. I'm kind of sensing what feels most important is that we move into the true sacred union energies, that these connections are approached in a different way, where you're each coming in from your sovereign energy and then you're co creating and building or your connection or your relationship or your community or whatever you end up doing together. You're doing it in a non attached unity consciousness way. So this is where you're going to be applying more of what you've been learning. And we talk about doing it in your community and all of your other connections, but this is a big part of what you're preparing for is to be doing this in yourself, in your connections, and in whatever you co-create with your counterpart in the physical world. All right, my loves. And I do want to say, because somebody asked me this the other day, if you're in a place in your connection where it's not in one of those energies where you're coming into the physical world union, maybe you're sort of going on those parts of your journey where you're learning about yourself or learning about your part of the mission. I want to just acknowledge that whatever you're going through, it is an important part of the process. Those that are starting to come into this alignment where they're going to meet back up in the physical, or they already are, or they're beginning those co-creations, it's because they went on those journeys, right? Oftentimes it's because they went on that solo journey of internal exploration. Now, is it always like that for every single person? Absolutely not. But in the overarching, bigger, general, collective energies connected with these connections, there tends to be those times of physical world separation so that you can come into your own alignment and embodiment and each come to the table to share in your bigger overall potentials and gifts. Okay. So wherever you are on this journey, just keep trusting yourself, keep following your guidance, and trust that when it is time for you to realign, or if you have a physical world purpose together, it will come together. It will come to fruition in that divine timing. Okay, my loves. All right. I'm going to leave it there. I hope this was helpful. Again, I'm going to leave my schedule in the pinned comment. I will also leave the Patreon group as well as my website to the recording that I said. If any of you feel like you want to support the deeper layers of this process for yourself, for your connection, and for the planetary energies, for any of you who haven't done my recordings before, they're definitely available not to just be done once, but I actually really encourage people to listen to them because they will continue to work with the layers and in different areas. There's quite a bit within those. So if you feel called, they are supportive in multiple ways. All right, my loves, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, I would love to hear from you, and I'll see you soon. Much love. Bye.